Something just shook the car industry to its core. Not a software update, not a new EV, but a machine so powerful, so outrageous it should not even exist. In a world racing towards silent motors and digital dashboards, one company did the unthinkable. General Motors did not follow the trend. They challenged it. While the industry buried combustion and crowned electricity king, GM dug deeper. And what they pulled out is not just an engine. It is a warning shot. 1,000 plus horsepower, 10.35 liters of unfiltered mechanical chaos. No batteries, no charging cables, just raw power that laughs in the face of eco-friendly. And at the center of it all is the CEO who stared down the future and pulled the trigger. If you think this is just another V8, you are not ready for what is coming. Because while Ford pours billions into electrifying the Mustang, while Mercedes phases out internal combustion entirely, and while Hyundai and Volkswagen chase battery tech like it is the new oil, GM walked the other way. They promised to go fully electric too. They even built an entire Ultium platform, designed new EVA models like the Cadillac and the Silverado EV, and made public vows to end gasoline forever. And it just going forever. So why, after all of that, would they suddenly build the most intense combustion engine they have ever created? Something does not add up. You do not invest tens of billions into electrification only to pivot back to gasoline unless you have seen something concerning. Because while the headlines scream about the EV revolution, the cracks are growing faster than the charge times. Charging infrastructure is falling apart once you leave major cities. Stations are offline, networks are congested, and wait times are growing. And batteries, they are not the miracle they were sold to be. The raw materials are locked behind geopolitical tension, environmental backlash, and labor allegations. Lithium is not clean. It is just exported guilt. Prices have not dropped. They have gone up. The average EV still costs over $50,000, and even with federal tax credits, most people cannot afford them. Add insurance premiums, rising repair costs, and a fragile supply chain that can be shattered by a shipping delay in Shanghai, and suddenly, that clean, simple future looks a lot messier. Even Tesla is struggling. Margins are collapsing, demand is cooling, Cybertruck is delayed, and price cuts are needed just to stay competitive. And while its CEO tweets through it, GM is doing something far more dangerous, staying silent and building something no one can ignore, because this engine is not just a product. It is a signal, a warning shot, a monstrous mechanical rebuttal to the electric future. And it is not just louder than a Tesla, it is speaking a different language entirely. GM did not just stop at words. They put their money where their mouth is, unveiling what might be the most audacious internal combustion engine the world has seen in decades. The ZX32 1000, a naturally aspirated 10.35-liter V8 so raw, so unfiltered it smashes every modern trend in automotive engineering and leaves it in the dust. No turbos, no hybrid features, no electric motors quietly helping it out. This is pure mechanical fury, a trend it may just a roaring beast that drinks regular pump gas and breathes fire with every turn of its forged crankshaft. Over 1,004 horsepower, 876 pound-feet of torque. Numbers that sound like hyperbole until you feel that surge, that visceral punch that no battery ever delivers. What makes this engine truly formidable is not just its size or brute force, it is the engineering behind it. GM's engineers built this monster with symmetrical port architecture. That means airflow is not just forced through, it is balanced, optimized, crafted for peak efficiency and durability. Every cubic inch screams precision. It is designed to breathe as freely at 7,000 rounds per minute as it does idling in your garage. Inside GM's walls, this engine is not just another project, it is the ultimate combustion engine. The last great effort of an era they refused to surrender without a fight. But why now? Why reveal such a beast amid the frenzy of electric revolutions and government bans? It is not just about power, it is about strategy. GM is playing a dangerous game of hedging and disrupting. On one side, billion pour into EV factories, Ultium batteries, and electric pickups. On the other, they are lighting up the crate engine market with a monster that racers, modifiers, and die-hard enthusiasts cannot resist. This engine is a psychological statement. It is a declaration that combustion still thrills. Combustion still rules hearts, and it is a direct challenge to the growing EV backlash, a way to reconnect with drivers who feel alienated by silent, sterile electric cars. And rumors swirl around Detroit that this engine is not just a crate motor for aftermarket builds. Whispers say GM may drop it into a final edition Camaro, a last gas-fueled salute before the EV era tries to erase muscle cars forever. If true, that Camaro will not just be a collector's item. It will be a cultural event, but the ZX32 is not just brute strength. It is advanced tech wrapped in classic muscle. The engine's heart is a cast iron block paired with aluminum heads. A marriage of old-school durability and modern weight-saving tactics. Forged pistons and a forged crankshaft like you would find in a racing engine promise not just power but endurance under the most brutal conditions. Balanced airflow design means combustion happens smoother and longer, reducing stress and increasing longevity. No battery needed, no hours lost at a charging station, no fragile software glitches, just instant unfiltered performance. And in the battle between throttle response and thermal management, this V8 leaves many electric supercars struggling. EVs suffer from thermal throttling, heat buildup that forces software to limit power to protect the battery. This engine, it keeps performing lap after lap, street after street. This engine is not just a relic, it is a relentless performer built for a world that is rapidly forgetting how to love raw power. GM is not just selling horsepower. They are selling a statement against the shrinking freedom of choice, against the sanitization of the driving experience, against a future dictated by battery shortages and charging deserts. This is a wake-up call to the industry. The combustion engine refuses to die quietly. It is adapting, evolving, and fighting back on GM's terms. In a market flooded with electric promises, the ZX32 1000 screams authenticity. It reminds the world that power is not just numbers on a screen. It is the visceral roar, the shifting gears, the exhaust crackle that makes your chest vibrate. And while governments draw lines in the sand, automakers chase emissions credits and consumers debate the right technology, GM has created an escape hatch, a loophole that keeps the engine alive in garages, tracks, and the hearts of those who crave the thrill of gasoline. Fueled speed, this dual-track approach, mass electrification paired with extreme combustion, gives GM a resilience that few others possess. They are ready to pivot based on market demand, regulation changes, and consumer sentiment. And as the EV world stumbles on supply chain issues and infrastructure failures, GM's powerful V8 stands ready, not as a step back, but as a tool to break the status quo. Electric may be the future, but it does not feel like it. There is no rumble in your chest, no mechanical symphony under your foot, no rebellion in a silent glide. And that is exactly where GM strikes, because this is not just an engine, this is a cultural statement. EVs, sure, they are quick, but they are clinical. Point A to B without a heartbeat. They whisper in a language that many never asked to learn. No shifting, no vibration, no soul, just route maps and software updates. GM's 10.35-liter V8 does not just resist that future, it challenges it. This engine does not whisper, it roars, snarls, and kicks. It does not glide, it launches with fury. It does not need to convince you with data, it pulls you in with feeling. For decades, driving was about connection between man and machine, between road and engine speed, and now that connection has been reduced to screens and silence. But this V8, it rips that silence in half because GM knows something the EVA crowd does not want to admit. Performance is not just numbers, it is noise, feedback, tension, and triumph. This is not a play for the masses. It is not designed to sip fuel or meet quotas. It is raw and glorious, and that is exactly the point. It is a machine for the few who still believe driving is an experience, not an algorithm. It is a counter to the sanitized future we are being sold, because maybe the world will go all electric. But before it does, GM wants to remind everyone what we are leaving behind, and it is doing it on purpose. This V8 is not mass-produced. It is not bolted into factory sedans. It is a crate engine delivered in a steel box to those who know how to wield it. Tuners, builders, racers, the ones who do not ask permission before enjoying a back road. And that is the strategy of it. Because low-volume crate engines, they slip through the cracks. No heavy mandates, no mass-market regulations, no dependency on rare earth metals or overseas battery suppliers. Just gasoline and gears. It is not illegal. It is not reckless. It is targeted defiance. GM is not breaking the rules, it is bending them to perfection. In an era where your car reports your speed, limits your throttle, and begs for software updates, GM just handed you a mechanical statement and walked away. And make no mistake, this is not some last-ditch effort. This is a legacy company flexing its muscle, because GM is not just reacting, it is reminding. This company built the performance culture. It invented the electric starter in 1912 when people were still hand cranking their cars. It gave us the small block V8 in 1955, the engine that defined American muscle. It unleashed the Camaro SS, the Pontiac GTO, the Corvette ZR. It did not follow trends. It created icons. That same DNA pulses through this 10.35-liter machine. It is not a copy of the past. It is an evolution. Bigger, louder, more aggressive. It is GM saying, you want a clean future. Fine, but we will go down with 1,004 horses at 7,000 rounds per minute. This is not about practicality. It is about mythology. It is about what a car feels like when you press the pedal and the world blurs. It is about the kind of machine that makes your neighbors notice and your soul feel alive. That is not nostalgia. That is power. And power, GM knows, never goes out of style, because even in a world of wind tunnels and efficiency charts, people still gather at drag strips. They still tune engines in garages. They still measure value in decibels and tire smoke, and GM just handed them the ultimate weapon. So while others scale back, play safe, and whisper into the future, GM throws open the throttle and announces into the night because someone had to remind the world driving was not meant to be quiet. The roar from GM's 10.35-liter V8 is not just rattling engines, it is shaking the entire industry to its core. Suddenly, automakers who thought combustion was yesterday's news are reconsidering their moves. The market is shifting faster than predicted, and the old rules do not seem to apply anymore. Ford's latest Mustang Dark Horse and the brutal GT500 keep proving there is still massive appetite for internal combustion performance. Those growls and snarls are not just nostalgia, they are demand, and it is echoing louder across boardrooms. Even Toyota, a company famously cautious about electrification, is reportedly re-evaluating its commitment. Hybrid systems, advanced internal combustion tech, maybe even new ICE platforms could make a comeback if the A revolution stumbles. GM's V8 has set a new bar, a performance benchmark that does not come with software patches or range anxiety. It is raw, consistent, and brutally simple. No batteries to charge, no expensive replacements looming on the horizon. Now, other brands face a difficult choice. Keep racing blindly toward an all-electric future that still feels uncertain, or pivot, diversify, and embrace a multi-path approach like GM, because the old combustion engine is not just surviving. It is evolving and taking on a whole new meaning. Tesla's Plaid and the Lucid Air dazzle with instant acceleration and jaw-dropping specs, but it is a sprint. Those bursts of speed fade as thermal throttling kicks in, limiting performance to protect expensive batteries. The thrill is intense but fleeting. GM's 10.35-liter V8 offers something different. Consistent, repeatable mechanical power that lasts lap after lap, mile after mile. It is a beast that does not tire, a relentless force unchained from fragile electronics or cooling systems, and it is modifiable. The opposite of closed-box EV systems that leave owners locked out of the car's soul. This is a power plant you can tune, tweak, and make your own. This engine challenges what we even mean by performance. It is not just about 0 to 60 or top speed. It is about sensation, the feeling of connection through fire and steel, the drama of raw torque ripping through the pavement, the intoxicating rush of control. For many drivers, these sensations are priceless. They question the cold promise of battery life and whisper of a thrill lost in the switch to electric, and GM just put those doubts into overdrive. But what about the climate? The looming shadow over every automotive decision. GM's approach is deliberate. The Z632 is not a mass-market commuter engine. It is a limited run for collectors, racers, and enthusiasts, a niche carved out within a broader commitment to carbon neutrality. They are not denying the climate challenge. They are acknowledging it, but with nuance. The combustion engine is not gone. It is targeted, refined, and purposeful. GM is running a dual-track strategy. EVs for everyday drivers, combustion for the passionate few who demand soul and sound. This flexible roadmap positions GM to adapt no matter what the future throws at them. Regulations, market shifts, or technological breakthroughs. The industry watches closely, forced to question long-held beliefs. Do they double down on EVs exclusively, or do they follow GM's lead and embrace a diversified future where combustion and electric coexist, pushing each other to new heights? GM's powerful V8 is not just an engine. It is a challenge, a wake-up call, a statement that the future is not one-dimensional. It is a call for choice, for passion, for engines that speak to the heart, not just the spreadsheet. And as the automotive world recalibrates, one thing is clear. The battle between electric and combustion is far from over. It is evolving, becoming more complex, more nuanced, and more exciting than anyone predicted. So what side will the industry choose? The clean, quiet promise of electric or the roaring, relentless spirit of combustion? GM's answer is loud and clear, and it is shaking the foundations of the car world.